Good day, everybody. My name is Amy with Tulipema Dance, and today I have the tutorial of page 2 of our large mini album. This page has a few fun pieces in it that can be a little hard, but not too bad. It starts with this flap on the outside. The flap has a pull-out on it. Then you have this bigger flap and two smaller flaps. Again, the inside has a pull-out. And then on the back, there is this belly band that's holding together this waterfall. We have 4 flaps in this waterfall. And then a pocket in the back. Okay, so let's get started. Move this over to the side. Again, we have our base page for this album, which is 8.5 by 8.5. So I have one piece cut at 8.5 by 8.5 and a second piece at 8.5 by 9.5. I've got it scored at 1/2 inch on the 9.5 side on either end, and that is what's going to make our page. Not if I don't fold it right. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and fold and burnish on our score lines. And I'm going to put some glue on my little flaps here. And there's that. I'm going to line up my other half. Stick it down. Okay. Put my glue on this other flap. And again, I'm using art glitter glue. It's what I prefer, but you can use whatever you want to put your pages together, whatever you like the best. Fold that down and stick it down. Okay, so now I have my base page done. And again, we're going to look at our edges and see how they turned out. And this one has a little bit of an overlap there. So I'm going to use that for the back page, because the back page has that pocket on the bottom. So I'm going to flip this over and have this as the front of page 2. So in the front of page 2, we have several parts and pieces. Let me move this over for a second. So we have 2 pieces that are cut at 4 3/4 by 6 1/4, scored at 1/2 inch on the 4 3/4 side. So we have 2 of those. We have one piece that is 8.5 by 7.5, scored at 4 1/4 on the 8.5 inch side, and that is going to be our piece that goes inside our pocket. And then we have our bigger flap that is 7 3/8 by 8, scored at 1/2 inch on the 7 3/8 inch side. Okay, so let's start. Oop, nope, we got one more piece. Then we have our pocket. This is a little bit, this has a lot of explaining to do. Sorry. All right, so I'll get to that in a minute. Let's put these other flaps together first. So the first thing we're going to do is fold and burnish our score lines. Sorry. There's our big flap, and then we have our two smaller ones. There we go. We've got those all done. I'm going to bring my page back in. Again, I'm going to remember where I'm doing stuff. So first I'm going to do the big flap. I'm going to put the big flap down first, and it's going to go on this side. I'm just going to turn it because it's always easier for me to glue it straight if I can see the edge I'm gluing. So I'm going to go ahead and put my glue on my hinge piece here. And I'm going to center that in there. It should be, you should have a 1/4 inch on either side of the page. Once you've got that done, I'm going to stick that down. Okay. So there we go. So now we have that flap. So now we have these two little baby flaps, and they're going to go right in here. Okay. So I'm going to start by putting my glue on one. And again, I'm going to put it this way just so I can see it. And we're going to put that about centered, but we don't want to put it too close to that hinge line because we want to make sure that that top one can close. Okay, we've got that. Burnish that down real good. And then our next flap, we're going to put our glue on. And we are going to put it right on top of that first one. Just want to make sure we line it up nice and straight and stick it down. Okay, I'm going to open that up. All right, so that part's done, and that was the easy part. We have the big flap, and then we have two little flaps, and then a big spread. So now we're going to work on our little pocket piece. So I'm going to set this over to the side and pull out my pocket piece. So this piece is 5 by 10, and it is scored at a 1/2 inch on 3 sides, and then it's scored at 5 inches. So on the 10-inch side, you have it scored at a 1/2 inch, 5 inches, and 9.5 inches. And then on the 5-inch side, you have it scored at 1/2 inch. All right. And this is going to make our little pocket. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to miter our bottom corner. Okay. And then I'm going to miter this top corner just a bit. Okay. And then I'm going to miter this top corner just a bit as well. Now, here I need to cut out this whole section here. So I'm going to miter to the score line there. And then I'm going to come over here and miter to the score line here. And then I'm going to cut all the way from here to the center score line. And usually I don't use baby scissors for this, but you know, why not? So I'm going to score all the way up to that score line and cut off that piece. So here is how it looks. I've cut off this little portion here on this end. And so now I'm left with a little hinge piece here, a little hinge piece here, and one here as well, and then the score down the center. All right. So let's fold our hinges and burnish them. Okay. So now this hinge over on this end is what we're going to use to attach to our book. And we want that hinge to be able to fold in both directions. So we're going to burnish it in both directions so that it's nice and loose. Okay. Now on this side, where we have these two that meet, we're going to put glue on these hinges, and then we're going to fold this up. Let me burnish that too. And that's what's going to make our pocket. Okay. So we've got that folded up. Let's put our glue on these two hinges. Very messy with my glue. And then we're going to fold. You just fold it right like it's supposed to. It should just go right onto the spot where it needs to be. Okay? So there we have it. Now we've made our pocket. So we have our little pocket here and our hinge right here. All right. And then we have this piece of paper that is that 8.5 by 7.5 that we scored at 4 1/4. We're going to fold that in half. And that is going to become our insert for inside our pocket, okay? So let's attach that hinge onto our page. I'm going to bring my page back. So here I have my two flap, or my big flap and my two little flaps. And now this hinge flap is going to go right here at the bottom of the page. So I'm going to turn this. Make sure that when you're gluing this that you've got the pocket, the open. You don't want to make that mistake. So I'm not saying I ever have, but it's possible. I don't think I have though. I wouldn't put it past me. Okay, so here's my glue. This pocket is going to be glued down at the bottom, flush with the bottom. Okay, so flush with the edge right on that corner. All right, let's get that burnished down. We're going to put our booklet in there. Got that in there right. All right, so here we have it. There's the front part of page 2. Flap, 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 and flap. Perfect. So let's flip it over and do the back side. So the back side has a waterfall feature on it. Let me move some of this stuff out of the way. So what we have is we have two pieces that are 6 by 2 inch, and you're going to score at a 1/2 inch on a 6-inch side on both pieces. We have the pocket, which is 9.5 by 3.5, and we're going to score at a 1/2 inch on all 3 sides. And then we have 4 waterfall flaps that are 6.5 by 7, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch on the 7-inch side. Okay, so let's go ahead and fold and burnish on all of those score lines. Just gets things done and out of the way to do it this way. And I was noticing earlier that because I am left-handed, I think that I probably do things maybe upside down more often than right-handed people do. I'm not exactly sure. But there are some things I noticed that are complete advantage to being left-handed in the crafting world. Using the score the scoreboard is a lot easier because I'm always holding the score unit in my left hand and I'm not trying to reach over to the side to do scoring, like I notice with right-handed people. But, you know, has my disadvantages too, as I always seem to be backwards. So here is our pocket. Now this time I have it scored at 1/2 inch all the way around, and I am going to fold that top piece like I did the 1/4 inch of the other pockets, those smaller pockets, to reinforce the top of the pocket. So I'm going to miter off the corners, all 4 corners of the pocket. And for now, I'm just going to fold one of the long ends and burnish it. And then I'm going to glue that down to make that reinforced edge. Okay. And again, this takes a little bit of maneuvering because you're working with glue and you have to let it get tacky before it starts sticking, and you've got this long piece, so you gotta to move it around. Of course, if you're using sticky tape, it's not that same thing. I love when I say sticky tape. It reminds me of when my girls watched Dora the Explorer. She always wanted sticky tape. Is tape ever anything but sticky? I don't think so. Anywho, so here you go. So now I've made that reinforced top. Now I'm going to fold and burnish the other 3 sides. Okay, so now I'm going to bring my page back. Again, we're going to make sure that we're going to do everything on the right side. And my pocket's going to go here on the bottom. I'm going to start and put the glue on the bottom half of my pocket first. I'll go ahead and center that on the bottom. Make sure it's nice and straight and stick it down. Okay, move these pieces over to the side here. And then let's go ahead and glue the sides of the pocket down too. Okay. Okay. So there we go. We've got that part done. So now what we're going to do is do our flaps. Now, for these flaps, because they are a little bit narrower than the main page, if you know what paper collection you're going to use, or if you've already got that planned out, you can put off putting these on until you've matted this bottom piece, and that way your bottom piece would cover it. Otherwise, you can just mat in strips or however you want to, but just so you know that you can wait to glue these on until you've matted this piece if you wanted to. So what you would want to make sure is if you were going to mat first before you did this, that you do want to make sure that you attach your belly band flaps first, or you know, the closure. So since these are a little bit shorter, they're about 1 inch shorter or 2 inch shorter, we're going to have 1 inch on either side to glue them on. So I'm going to go ahead and glue on. And again, I do it upside down because I have a better, it's easier for me to glue it where I can see it. Now I'm kind of eyeballing this, but if you want, you can pull your ruler out and make sure it's centered. Press that down. And let's do the next 3 flaps. Oh, hey, look, Mabel's here. We're going to get rid of her. She probably thinks it's time for pets. It's not happening. All right, so let's stick this one down. And again, I'm going to butt this up right to the end of the flap that's already down there. And then I'm going to fold it and make sure that they line up before I burnish it in. Just so that my waterfall lays nice and straight. And here we go. And our third one, I'm going to butt it again right up to that one in front of it. Fold it down, make sure we have them nice and even. And then our final one. All right. Again, making sure we're right up to there. And straighten it out so that they're even before sticking it down. Okay. All right, so now we have those flaps glued down. So now what we have left to do is to do our little belly band closure. So these are going to be glued right, we're going to butt them right up next to the pocket. So that's kind of an easy measurement there. I'm going to put my glue here. And again, I'm just going to put it where it's right up even with the pocket. Okay. And again, when I do this one, just like on the first page, I'm going to put it in the same spot, but I do want to make sure that they overlap perfectly so that when they are closed, that they look straight. Okay. All right. There we go. And now we have that done and that done. All right. So now we just need to put on our magnets. So again, I have my inexpensive double-sided tape from AliExpress. It's either AliExpress or Wish is where I got it from. But I wouldn't use it really for anything but putting on these magnets because it's really just not that great of tape. So I'm going to use my pencil and I am going to just make a nice little mark here to let me know where this flap touches so that I know not to stick the magnet too close. If we stick it too close to that line, then the magnet on this side will be too close and matting will be hard. So we're going to go ahead and do this. And, you know, right now when you're trying to do it, the magnet's going to seem like it's not very strong. Once you get the papers in there and everything, it tends to not be as crazy. So I have got to, I'm holding these, it's not not letting me do that. Okay, so I'm going to put the magnet right here in the middle of where I have that line and stick it down. And then I'm going to close my belly band and put the second magnet on top. And stick it down. Okay, so now we have that magnet done. And then on this front page, the front of the page, I am going to put the magnet on to hold this closed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the magnet on the pocket piece first. Okay. And then with my tape, I'm going to put my tape on top of it upside down because we like to do things hard. I'm going to come back and take one magnet and just put it right on top of there. So now when I take my fingers off there, we've got the magnets stuck together and then the tape in between, so that now when I close it, I'm going to hold this down when I do this. So now when I close it, I'm going to push, and that other magnet is going to be right where it needs to be in order to meet that flap. Okay, so there you have it. So now we have page 2 done. I'm going to put my insert in on the side and clear some of this space off. So we have our flap that has our photo mat in it. One flap, 2 little flaps, and then a magnet to close it. And then on this side, we have our magnet belly band, our 4 flaps for photos, and then a pocket at the bottom. Okay, so here you go. We've got page 2 done. On to the next. Thanks for staying with me. See you later.